a reliable dinner party main course is very important. And with me is lovely Marina. We have just done our feasting table and crackers, and you loved that lovely brie, baked brie we did.
Just delicious.
Excellent. So while that was happening, and you've got a dinner party this evening, and that's why I wanted to show you this one, is when your guests arrive, there's nothing worse than when the host or the hostess is crying and drinking excessively from the stress. Okay, so that's not a good look. What we need is you relaxed and laughing, lying on the couch with a glass of wine, looking ever so elegant and relaxed. And when we have dishes that we can rely on and that we can reproduce again and again and again, no matter who's coming, even if it's those intimidating guests that judge you and all sorts, we are going to have a winner and we are going to dazzle and amaze them. Now, I like to, and this is one of my Culinary Quickies recipes. The cook time is not quick though, so this is going to be a low and slow cook. So we're actually going to put this lamb in the oven for 3 hours at about 120 if you have the time. So if you haven't got the time for the slow cook, what we can do is we can actually rush it a little bit, and I'm going to show you how, if you need to do it in an hour and a quarter or an hour and 20 minutes for a lamb shoulder. I would never recommend that. Generally I would always go with the low and slow, but if we introduce braising, we can definitely do slow cooks a little bit faster. Of course, if you have a slow cooker, that's great. You could put it in the morning. And there's nothing better for a hostess.
Oh, it's just so easy. You put it into the oven.
And we relax.
You relax. You go and clean the house up for a change and take it out and it's ready.
And everyone's jealous of your skills. Yeah. So if you did do it roasting for an hour and a quarter at 220, your lamb shoulder would literally shrink and be this dry little thing. So I must show you how to introduce braising into your repertoire of cooking, because braising is an opportunity for us to add moisture and flavor and personality to the cheaper cuts. So if you are buying lamb shoulder, pork shoulder, you know, any like brisket, short ribs, anything where if you put that into a stir fry, people would never come back to your parties because it's just so tough. So we need to learn. Roasting is fantastic. I love roasting. You put it in the oven, you season it, you close the door, and it roasts. But with meat, it can shrink. And we get very stressed. Okay? Do you get stressed?
Yes.
Yeah, I get stressed. So what we're going to do is we have this lovely lamb shoulder, and this is enough for about 4 to 6 people. So when we are catering, and you need to know how much meat per person, it's generally 180 grams of skinless, boneless, 180 to 200 grams skinless, boneless meat per person. The minute this lamb is on the bone, you're going to go to 250. However, in my family, if you give someone a 400 gram or 600 gram T-bone steak or something like that, they're quite happy with you. So you can make as much of this as you want. Won't you use your little clean hands to open just this bottom one? Brilliant. So with the lamb shoulder, you can see how that this is a deboned lamb shoulder, and it's coming in the netting. Now, if you've cooked it in the netting, the reason they put the netting on is so that when we carve this at the table, it's in a beautiful roll. However, no one is wanting carved meat anymore. It's all about pulled pork, pulled lamb shoulder. So I always say at the table later, when we are trying to look all elegant and sophisticated and we are carving this, and now you have to take this netting off, your guests are going to get flicked in the eyeball by hot lamb, and that is awkward for everyone. Okay, so I take it off now, because what that'll do is, we don't care that it's been deboned. I'm actually going to open this up. By opening it up, I will reduce the cooking time as well. So let me try not to flick you with that. Now, of course, you could rinse that and put that away. So a quick rinse of the hands. So by doing that, we can actually open this guy up. All right, and that is just going to give us more opportunity to get more flavor in there and more moisture. It's all about the moisture. Okay, now what I've got there, and it's quite fatty. So lamb to me can be very overwhelming when it's really fatty. And with this, because we're braising, we're going to get a beautiful gravy or a sauce to serve with this without working any harder. All right, because remember, we want all the glory, but no hard work. So what we're going to do is with that lamb, and you see all that fat, almost like a pork crackling, and you won't get crackling with the lamb, but we can actually get some seriously beautiful crackling on the top of that lamb. So what we will need is, I've got some hot water, as you can see here, and I'm going to make just a liquid stock. Now, I teach cooking classes and I do stocks and sauces master classes. However, I do not have enough space at home to keep stock in the freezer. So if you don't have any, you are welcome to use a stock powder or a cube that you like the taste of. I always smell them, I sniff them, I even taste them, because if you don't like the flavor of the cube or the powder, you're not going to like the flavor. So this is a really nice quality, just a chicken stock, and I'm just making that up. And what we're going to do here is pour that around our lamb. So if you are braising just in water, you will find that no one is arriving back to your parties, because braising in water is boring. Okay, yeah. This is an opportunity for us to take this lamb on a little journey. And today he is going to North Africa or Morocco. Now, of course, we're going to use my lovely Ras el Hanout. Now, that's part of my spice range. I use it all the time. I call it my lamb spray tan, because like my dress, that'll look nice and happy and summery. Well, this is going to be for winter, but with that large amount of turmeric in there, and that's made of beautiful spices. I'll let you have a sniff in a moment. But it really does complement our lamb dish. And the accompaniments we're going to serve this with will make it a Moroccan or a North African feast. So while I've got my stock in there, I'm just going to add, and most people say, wow, Mel, that's a lot of spice. If I've said to you, Marina, come on over, we're having a Moroccan lamb, and with our 2 kilos of lamb here, I'm cheap, and I just go that much spice, you're not going to taste Morocco, see Morocco, or even think you're in Morocco. So you need to deliver with the spice. So for this 2 kilo little lamb here, we're actually going to put about 2 or 3 tablespoons in there. Now, what we're going to do is spray tan the lamb. So I'm going to also put some of that dry spice onto the rind, if you want to call it that, of the lamb. Now, the biggest mistake a lot of people make is roasting spices dry. So if you can see here, at the moment, that's all dry. If we put that in the oven, it would burn and become bitter. So
I can smell the spice.
Isn't it great? See, already we've won the race. So here, I'm just using a little bit of that stock, and I'm just going to give that lamb a little massage. All right, yeah, like a little coating, and it's going to look ever so much more expensive than if you didn't do this. So if you want to do that and just give them a little spray tan, just do not flick your clothes. If you're wearing white, you need to really be careful. So what I'll get is seasoning. Now we have put stock in there, and it's sort of a weak stock. I've put the spices in there. We are with professional, you look very professional there, you look very chefy. We are giving that lamb a beautiful spray tan, but the last thing we need to do is season it. Right. I always say, season your food, it shows you care. Yes. All right. So there's nothing worse than if you're looking at a beautiful meal and it smells great, but it doesn't have just a little bit of seasoning. So yes, we've used spices, but to balance that off, I've got a sea salt here, or just a table salt. I've got my tea strainer. And this is a lovely way of getting a very elegant bit of salt over the top. Yes. So I call it salt snow. There we go. So that there, same for roast vegetables, pork belly, anything. You can do my salt snow technique, and it just gets an even covering of the salt on. And that looks like a lot of salt.
Not
that was
really,
less than a teaspoon.
But I must say, that's a perfect trick.
Isn't it great?
Oh, it's
just rinse that before your next Earl Grey, otherwise salted Earl Grey. It's probably not trending. Also, I know you like that black salt flake that we have. So you don't have to have both, but we can show off. We can do that very dramatic charcoal flake salt on there. You don't have to do both, and especially if you don't have the black salt, you just don't need to have it. But that is going to look lovely and dramatic. And of course, if you did have some saffron, you could put a pinch. If I can open this, I think it's that way. You can put a pinch of saffron in there because, and then you would tell everyone that there was saffron in there, because we need to tell our guests that this is a mysterious Moroccan lamb shoulder with a Moroccan spice blend with a saffron infusion. And what we're going to serve this with, when this comes to the table, it's going to look glorious. But this is when we win our guests over, is when we whip out our pistachio date and fresh mint gravel to go over the top of that. You see, I had you at hello. It sounds really good. These are not difficult or expensive things to do. It's just a bit of pre-planning. Yeah. And I love to have stuff done. You could do this the day before. Have it in your fridge, and on the day you can pop it in.
I'm a pre-planner too, Mel.
Yes, because then we can live happily ever after. So I'm going to put this into the oven, and then we don't have time to wait the 3 hours. So like I said, 3 hours, I would go 120. In the end, I would crank it up when I'm ready to serve. Or if you really need this, like I said, an hour and a quarter, at 220 or 230. So I've actually got one that I made earlier.
And open, not covered.
This moisture
Yes.
is going to do everything for you. You don't have to put foil on the top or worry about it. You don't even have to make eye contact with this until you see it again in an hour and a quarter.
Can't wait to see the result.
So I'm going to put this one in,
Yeah.
but I've got one that I made earlier, and you're actually going to take this one home with you and serve it to the family tonight.
Wonderful.
Yay, the job is done. I'll drink to that.
That too.
Drink to anything. Cheers. So here's our beautiful piece of meat. It's been in there. It's gorgeous. However, I would never serve that to the table looking like that because cooked meat just doesn't look good in a photograph. And that is why I invented the culinary bling. So what I've done is I've got some beautiful pistachio nuts that I've toasted up. Now, fresh pistachio nuts are great, but when you roast them, and that was just in the oven for 5 minutes, you'll smell them. They'll be nice and fragrant, provided they're fresh. And then I've got some beautiful chopped dates as well, okay? So with our Moroccan flavor profile, adding those sweet dates, or you could do dried figs, or you can have peaches or apricots, will really add that lovely flavor in there. I've also got some fresh mint that I've just happened to have in the garden. Of course, you could add coriander, but not everyone likes coriander, so it would be up to you. So some fresh mint in there, and of course, you could also have some edible petals, but I think we've seen enough of those petals. We got them in our lovely drinks here. And this here, you could either serve it to them in a little jar on the side of their plate so they could put that on themselves. But definitely before we carve this, I would put all of that lovely gravel on top of that, and people would be literally blown away, dazzled and amazed by how glorious that looks.
Gosh.
And they would know that you planned this whole thing and you planned to succeed.
Oh my goodness. Doesn't that
So,
look yummy?
Also, when we carve this, it's going to be easy to carve. Like
Yeah.
I said, we took the net off, so we didn't have to have all of that lamb fat
Happening
splashing.
at the last
And you can, if you
moment.
actually tap this, it will actually it'll actually sound like crackling.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yes, yes.
That is beautiful. Now, the only thing about this beautiful dish is with lamb, of course, we've got that huge layer of fat, and you can see there, and I would hate to serve that because that would ruin the whole dish. So the easiest way to do this, and I've got a lovely commercial ice machine here in my kitchen, is these ice cubes. Throw them in, and what they will do is, and don't leave them in, you need to be ready to fish them straight out, is if you can see, they are literally getting that naughty oil, and they are solidifying it so that you can come in and scoop it off. And there's nothing more to do. Very nice little trick. Look at all that fat hanging onto those ice cubes. I do this for pork belly and all sorts of other dishes as well, so give it a try. Now, what I would serve that with is, and I've done that and I've got the recipe for you, is I roast carrots in my little air fryer for about 10 minutes, just whole peeled carrots.
Yeah.
When they come out in about 10 minutes, or you can do them in the oven as well, your oven's already on. 200 degrees, 10, 12 minutes, they're brown, they're juicy, they're cooked. I blend them up, I add a little bit of hot stock, and then I puree them and I serve them with an elegant roast carrot puree.
So the combination of that colour
Is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
You are going to get a round of applause
Yes.
tonight.
Oh my goodness.
I will drink to that as well.
I will drink
Cheers,
to that
everyone.
too. Cheers.
Here's to happy lamb.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mel.
And try that with a pork shoulder as well.
I will.
Yes.
I will.
Excellent. Thanks for watching, guys.